So my style of leadership is very casual and approachable. I try to be very approachable, and in my day job, I have to deal with a lot of people, and I have to calm the storms quite a bit, and I just think that kindness goes a long way, and I'm not big on confrontation at all, but if something riles me up, I'll get up there and say my piece. But for the most part, I think most everything can be done with kindness if we just can talk to each other, listen to each other's points and sides, and I really truly encourage people to come to the meetings. I was hoping when we did the Zoom meetings we'd have more in the audience because you didn't have to go anywhere. You could just Zoom in, and unfortunately we still have the same people, thank you, who do that, but we still have just the same people that come. And it's rather unfortunate, and I agree with the whole the loudest person, and they kind of make you have to pay attention to them. That's why they're being so loud. They're trying to force you to pay attention to them. And it's really hard to dive through that as well to get to the people who are standing in the background that want to have something to say as well and have no way to do it because people are standing in their way. So I think it's important to try to dive through that and get to the people who are standing in the back, like the one that just stood up telling me my time and stuff.
Thank you. My style of leadership, I'm a servant leader. I'm a worker. And so I do not expect anybody to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. So I'm a shoulder to shoulder, let's get the job done kind of person. I think that sometimes the loudest person, we tend to want to ignore them. Again, my 17 years on the bench, I have found that the loudest people sometimes are really afraid of something. And you got to get past the volume and hear what are they trying to say exactly. And it's probably an docket conversation that you need to have with that person to say, what's the real issue? I mean, is it really that, I get you're mad, I understand what the problem is, but why? How is it impacting you? And let's have that conversation one-on-one where we can sit down and kind of sort that out. And I think it's easy to discount the loudest person because they're annoying. And, and we don't want to hear past the noise to what the issue is. So I think it's important that we hear everybody. And the only way that you're going to hear the quiet ones is to go find them. They're not going to come to you. If you build it, they will come. That doesn't work. You have to go out and you have to engage with the people and you have to create situations like I did with Reimagine Medical Aid, where the whole point of that was community engagement. If you will come out and it's something as simple as a festival and we can all work together on it, who cares about selling hot dogs and giving away candy? Is that really that big of a deal? No, but little kids sure like it, and it makes people smile, and you can give their parents a cause to come out to and to engage in, to be part of their community. And you know what? They go home feeling pretty darn good about it. And so I am a servant leader. I want to work. I want to find out what you want, and I want to bring about the changes that we need. So thank you.
I believe in leading from the bottom up, not the top down. We have excellent employees at the City of Medical Aid. We have a fabulous city council. We need to listen to what they say to us about their needs and what they see as a future for medical aid and what do we want for our children. I believe in bringing groups together, hearing all sides, being inclusive, and attempting to reach consensus. And I believe that we then need to make a concerted effort, all the players, to support the decision that was made, and including reaching out to those who don't want to speak up. As Terry said, a servant leader, that's the new buzzwords in management. I've been learning that in my day job. But that means that you listen to the people you work with and you respect their decisions. And I have tried to follow that in my 24 years leading the city.
I would say that my style of leadership is a collaborative one. I know what my strengths are, and I know what my strengths aren't. And hopefully my wife has all the strengths I don't have, because that's how we manage our family. We both know what we're good at and what we're not, and so we engage each other and empower each other to do what we know how to do best. And I think in the city council, you have people with very different experiences and different forms of knowledge and leadership. So I'm sure it will be the case that one person will obviously know a lot more about computers than another. And so I would, be very passionate about that. When it comes to farming and let's say some of the lesser known disciplines, if you will, as far as I'm concerned, I am more than willing to yield to somebody with more knowledge in that area than I am.
Well, I agree with Chad. It's best to be at the end of the line. You would say ditto, ditto, ditto. But I also am a collaborator. I believe in that form of leadership style. And when I've had the occasion to be the chairman of a board or something like that, I always make sure that I specifically ask each member what their thoughts are about a particular subject. And go around the room and do that, because everybody has a different perspective. And you don't know just by listening to the loud ones, as you say. You need everybody's opinion.
Great. So the next question, and this is, if you were to be elected, we'll start with Howard. This is, if you were to be successful in your run for office and were elected, over the next 4 years, what accomplishments would you like to see for yourself and for the city council to complete?
Oh boy. No pressure.
No.
So I think first and foremost, my job, especially with this being the first of my 4 years or more, hopefully, but the first of my 4 years would be to, learn the position that I've now put myself out for and make sure that I do it to the best of my ability.
Okay?
Yep, you're good.
For the next 4 years, I have a vision. My vision is to act on economic development opportunities as they come up and to go looking for those. I also want to compete successfully for for scarce funding resources. Now that we've gone above 5,000 residents in our city, we have to compete in a different pool for transportation improvement funds, etc. So we now have to step up our game and find those funding sources. I also want to bring broadband to Medical Lake in a much more robust method than we have now. We have 7 internet providers in the city of Medical Lake, but we can't find one person to call us back to explore expanding our broadband, because it's the name of the game now. We all know what Zoom means, so trying to find a company who will even talk to us about increasing our broadband infrastructure is one of my top priorities for the year. Through strategic, consistent, comprehensive planning, we need to make sure that the quality of our services remain high. we have safe, clean drinking water, and we need to put the effort to keep that. I want to look for grant funding that will help the residents in Medical Lake who need assistance. And I also want to make sure that we protect our parks and our lake quality. Thank you.
So over the next 4 years, my number one commitment, like I said, I did the 250 houses, and the majority, hands down, law enforcement. The cars are prowled, garages are broken into, people are walking around in their backyards and things. I call the police, nobody's there. I love the county sheriff. There's not enough of them. I write municipal budgets. I understand. I've written a budget that I think will work. And that's my number one goal, is to pursue public safety, improved public safety. I don't know what that will look like, but I'm going to make sure that I vet it out thoroughly. I talk to you about it, so I'm transparent, open, honest, and that I ask you to come and join with me and let's solve it, because it's not working. My house was robbed in 2018. I took a $30,000 loss that was with insurance, and it was painful. It was really painful. So that's number one. Number two, I want to work on business development. I have a master's in business administration. I understand business. I understand how business people think and what they need. We don't have what they need. So broadband is number one. We need fiber. There's one fiber coming through Medical Lake. It comes right down Lake Street, takes a right, goes to the high school, and the school district is the only one who can use it. It's proprietary. But there are things in the works, like Vista has Vista Edge. They're in a pilot project now with Cheney, and that will be expanded to Medical Lake. I've talked with Vista already about that, and that is something that we, Medical Lake could pursue. And of course, working on the parks and the trails, I want to expand those so that Medical Lake becomes the resort community it was when I was in high school. It was a rockin' awesome place, and we can attract people to come, recreate the lake, parks, trails, and then they'll stay and spend their money, and then they go home and we have a nice city to live in.
Don't be afraid, you can applaud that. I don't have any big ambitions for it. I very much enjoy being on the council, and I want to, I don't have any agendas. I just want to make sure that, again, we're taking care of business the proper way, not going into any debt, and listening to the community and trying our best to solve the problems that are out there. It's unfortunate that the most of the problems that we hear about are on Facebook. We don't hear anybody come to city council to tell us about a problem that they might be having or something that we might want to pursue. We rarely, I shouldn't say never, but we rarely get that. So it's just nice to hear about that, and to, instead of hearing the complaining, hear the real issues and maybe come with some solutions that might be workable. But otherwise, I really just want to continue to serve the community and not go in the red on our budget. Thank you.
I want to make sure that the city continues as it has, but even into the future, of making sure that we only spend the people's money on what is necessary and not frivolous stuff, ever. I also want to make sure that taxes stay down. I'm very adamant about keeping taxes down. This is our hard-earned money, and we want to make sure that we're not squandering the money that is given to us. So that's what my big priority is. One, if we do need to raise taxes for something, I believe in bringing it out to the people. And that means the people voting for it. And if the majority says, yes, this is adequate, then we do it. If they say it's not, then I guess we don't. That may hurt us, but it's only fair that the people get the right to know where their money is going and how much they're spending.
So in the city council, I definitely would not have a certain agenda, but just as a community member and as somebody that has their kids swim in the lake, and all the people I live around, that I talk to, running around the lake and walking, there's water quality. It's safe for my kids to swim in the lake, and I think the city has done an amazing job. There were some interesting things that happened in the past, but if there was a goal that I would have, it's just to clean up just a little bit more. I mean, they do a great job, but just to add up to like sort of the 2021 standards for stormwater treatment before it goes in the lake. There's just some pretty simple things we can do, and I think since we are such a beautiful community, we can work with the Department of Ecology. I've worked with most of those people before for this pretty easy fixes to be paid for with grant money. It'll take a little time for those to go through. We just have one right now helping people that just east of Airwood Heights with the PFAS contamination in their groundwater. But then once that's through, I think we can hopefully help with the stormwater infiltration. And that does matter to us because the lake has been the fractured, and I don't want to go to lecture because I only have 2 minutes. But there's cracks in the ground. They're old. We don't have a seismic. There's not going to be an earthquake probably, but there's fractures in the ground that let the water go in and out. So as groundwater goes up, it's going to feed the lake, and as the groundwater goes down, the lake discharges into the ground itself. And so if we can clean up the stormwater, it actually cleans up our aquifer. And I just want to keep in mind, folks, we do a great job at Lake, not watering at noon, and have a lot of great things that people do. But the groundwater itself is like 20,000 to 8,000 years old. I mean, it takes a long time for the water to get in that ground. So if you draw a lot out, it's gone. And that happened there with Heights. They lost their water rights. So I do think that it's all interconnected, and it's very important. Yeah, that's kind of my agenda, I guess. But I'm trying not to push on other people. People ask me about it.
Go ahead and keep a mic down there.
Turn it off.
Yeah, turn the mic off. I'm gonna let you guys down here so you can pass the mic so much.
Okay, so, there we go. Okay. I also don't have an agenda other than fiscal responsibility of the city. Every time a contract comes in, there's a lot of reading that needs to be done at city council at times for things, and I read every word, and I question things that I think are funny. And when it comes to taxes and other matters, when we look in the free press about the votes for things, if there's a negative vote on something financial, it's often me. If there's more than one, it's AJ's joined, or I've joined AJ. As far as projects in town, the parks are important. I'd love to see Pepper Park prepared for something other than the geese. I'd like to be able to have the weeds cleared out and make it nice for folks. But unfortunately, that's probably against state law, the state Shoreline Management Act and the Road Management Act and all that sort of stuff, which makes it difficult. So that's it.
So let's just go to 1 minute because we got a lot of questions in here and we want to try to get to some of them more and so we have some time for these folks. So we'll just go with 1 minute for the answers from now on. So this one is a little bit, get away from the conceptual stuff. This one's a little bit more nuts and bolts. Public safety, police and fire, and AJ, how do you start on this one? Should the city of Medical Aid continue to outsource with other agencies for its police and fire protection or look to restart its own services and why?
That's a good question. I have liked the police department that we have right now. They've done good jobs, and I think. I know a lot of people would love to have their own police department back, and I'm not totally against that. I just want to make sure if we do it, that we can have it in the budget and we can actually afford it. Before I was here, when we had our own police department, and twice we tried to get in a chief, and both times we told them the amount of money we were willing to spend for a chief, and both times after they got put in were offered the job, they wanted a lot more than we could afford. Thank you.
So we can start with the easy one, the fire department. The people spoke. it was voted on, and the people voted to annex with Fire District 3, and I think that's the people. So let's leave it at that. We were having a real struggle with, we all volunteer. A lot of people didn't live in town, and it took a long time for them to respond, if at all, and they all had daytime jobs or other jobs. So the fire department has been determined by the people, so we'll just leave that one alone. The police department, I have some personal opinions on. I wasn't involved when we had our local police department, but I was able to get some facts on dollars and behavior. And I think that the county is doing just fine. Just the same, if not better, than what we had at the local department. Thank you.
So, as for the fire department, I'm so glad we have Fire District 3. For many years, people wanted to have our own local fire department. They said we need a levy. If we had a levy, people would be willing to pay for it. And basically, it never went to the people for all those years. And so, it's like they don't want to pay it, they don't want to pay more taxes. I said I would. But anyway, nonetheless, we now have Fire District 3. Guess what? We pay more taxes and everybody's happy, hooray. And so that's all I have to say about that. Police department, we can do it. So for $1 million a year, over $1 million a year, we have the county sheriff drive through a couple times a shift or sit down at the scope office. I love those guys. They're great. I know them. I've worked with them for years. That's not the issue. We need a local folks, and if you had that police department before, that's a leadership problem. That's not a police department problem. And I think that's all really I have to say about that, other than it's so important, and it's something that the community wants, and it is doable. I've written a budget on it, and we can do it.
In 2009, the City of Medical Lake conducted a risk analysis and a cost-benefit analysis to determine if we could afford to maintain a police department. The results of those analyses showed that we could not compete with other jurisdictions and maintain qualified officers. We then regionalized and contracted with the Spokane County Sheriff for exactly the same services that we provided as an independent police department. 24/7 coverage. The only time they're not a medical aid is if they're on mutual aid calls, which was the same as it was when we had our own department. We cannot compete. Everybody has seen the news that says Spokane Police Department has vacancies. They're not even running a traffic department because they don't have enough officers. We cannot compete with that.
So with regard to our fire service, I think Fire District 3 is doing an excellent job. From what I can see, I don't have any problems with that, other than I know they had called out for volunteers. So if you're inclined or interested in volunteering with them, I would highly suggest everybody exercise that and help the community by volunteering. I think the police service, as I understand it, is doing an excellent job. I don't know personally that Medical League is big enough to support their own police department. So I think we should collaborate with the Spokane County Sheriff and continue that for now.
I'm thinking as we go through, I'm thinking our merger with District 3 was one of the best things we've done. Since District 3 was covering a lot of our calls from before when we had our own volunteer fire department. As far as the police, it'd be nice if we could have our own police force, but I also don't think the city can afford it. If everybody was willing to pay a heck of a lot more in taxes, because we, as you're saying with the police shortage, we'd have to offer above prevailing wage in order to attract officers here. And plus, I'm not sure we can also offer the same benefits as Spokane can. So I'm currently happy with the way the Sheriff's Department works.
I have to agree that Chief Rohrbach and the District 3 are doing a pretty amazing job. We all voted for that, and I think that's good. I definitely hear the siren a lot more all day, every day, which is good when people are safe. As the police department, I'd have to, if there was a new budget that came up and we talked about it, I would be happy to be open to whatever is possible for that. I don't know, a lot of crime, it seems like it's vandalism in cars. I just feel like if we, almost like Reimagine's doing right now, which is more community building, where people are watching out for each other, kids are busy, they're playing sports, they're doing different things. Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, I know pandemic does not help that right now, but in the future, the more we can do just for community building, just so we're part of the same group more, I think would be great too.
Okay, great. This question is about growth. We all know this area is growing crazy. There seems to be other buildings cropping up no matter where you go, any road on the West Plains. So, and Shirley, I'll have you go ahead and start on this one. And then we'll just kind of, let's go around this way. So, kind of the hour when you're done. Okay.
Left on the left.
Down until it's green. And the question is the city of Medical Lake positioned to take advantage of growth on the West Plains taking place now and proposed for the future, and why do you feel this way?
When we contracted with the city of Spokane,
You need to turn the mic on.
We're trying to turn it off.
Okay. Just
There we go.
okay. When we contracted with the city of Spokane to give us an emergency water intertide, we had to maintain those water lines. That has provided the city of Medical Lake with approximately 187 residential units of water. 57 of those units are going to go to the new apartment complex behind the naturopath office. That means we have 130 units that can be available for single-family or multifamily housing. Obviously, like I said to someone the other day, growth is inevitable. I live in Medical Lake because I like living in a small town. It's been my mantra for 50 years. I like living in a small town, but we know growth is inevitable. So we have to prepare for it. We have a very robust, comprehensive plan that guides us in our growth. And I think as long as we follow that comprehensive plan, we'll be successful in growing as a city.
Can't help but notice as you're traveling around all the new business buildings going up, such as the Amazon Fulfillment Center and the business parks alongside those. I would agree with the mayor. I think we need to invite the people that work there to live here. And we can do that with affordable housing. So I think that should be our priority.